I don't think we are seeing anything new. The West has been trying to prevent Iran from doing certain things and or lead them towards others for many years now, and we haven't seen much success there. So I think what is behind these new efforts is to try and prevent Israel from attacking and the risk of a regional escalation, which frightens a lot of very important people all over the world.
Indeed. And you also have to really wonder here, given the fact that sanctions already in place against Iran are largely unprosecuted and mostly still allowing the regime to conduct its oil exports primarily to China. How effective will any measure and any response actually be? Perhaps the answer here is China, not necessarily Iran. Your view?
Well, I think both the Russians and the Chinese are providing Iran quite a robust protection against anything. So, again, this is not going to make any meaningful difference. I think the ball is now in Israel's court in terms of how they're going to react and whether that will lead to an escalation or not. And I'm happy to elaborate on that as well.
Indeed. So walk me through it. We know the War Cabinet has been deliberating how and when to respond and what type of response would be appropriate against the backdrop of international calls for restraint. Do you think that Israel will choose perhaps a military path here, or will the response be more diplomatic?
I think there's quite a bit that is taking place behind closed doors. There's a huge debate now in Israel with a lot of ex-generals and military personnel trying to weigh in and influence the decisions. Israel has a lot to lose and a lot to gain based on what it is going to do. At the moment, it's kind of slowed down Israel's descent towards a state of a pariah state with a focus on Iran rather than on what is taking place in Gaza, and Israel is certainly aware of that. At the same time, there are calls for mostly hawkish calls saying that unless Israel responds militarily, then the message will not be delivered to Iran that Israel will not tolerate future actions in the same scale. So there is a lot of debate. I think hopefully the doves will win, and that the idea that regional escalation will not serve anyone's purpose, including Israel's, will gain the upper hand here.
I also wanted to ask you about some reaction that we've seen on the hostage negotiation front as well. Recent criticism of Qatar's work as mediator in these hostage negotiations certainly coming to the forefront now. Qatar's embassy releasing a statement responding to that criticism from a mostly unknown Democratic lawmaker who said the US should reevaluate its relationship with Qatar if it fails to apply pressure on Hamas to agree to a hostage release deal. Now, you really get the sense that perhaps this pressure is a little unfair, given Qatar has played first and foremost a humanitarian role here, and it is only the messenger. This is ultimately shooting the messenger. But I want your take on how you see this situation, the relationship between the US and Qatar, and whether or not Qatar is indeed in an impossible situation here.
I think there's a lot of anger, mainly in Israel, probably some in the US as well, about Qatar's support over the years for Hamas, which has been extensive. But having said that, since 7th of October, Qatar has been fulfilling, as you say, an important mediatory role that is quite significant and critical, both for any kind of success for the negotiations and obviously for American policy. So at the same time, trying to, rebuke Qatar and gain their favor in pressuring Hamas more strongly is something that you would find both in Israel and in America taking place. I think for now, Hamas does have an important role to play, and any kind of pressure on Qatar to pressure Hamas will have to be done behind closed doors. And we've just heard a little bit of that going out into the open.